There was once upon a time a miller who had a very beautiful daughter. They lived together in a mill, and there had once been a fine house. Times were hard, however, and the miller did not make very much money. Sometimes the grain ground by the mill was too hard. Sometimes it was too soft. Sometimes there was too much grain, and the mice ate all the millet. Sometimes there was not enough grain, and the miller and his daughter would go hungry. The miller was also very sad because his wife had died many years previously, and he was a widower. His daughter was a great source of comfort to him.
The mill was in the countryside, beside a stream, which was used to keep the mill wheel going. There was a large garden next to the mill, which the miller's daughter looked after. The garden was her pride and joy.
And one sunny day, the miller's daughter ran into the garden, enjoying the flowers, trees, and the sun.
Oh, what a beautiful day! The flowers, the water running through the mill. I do love the sunny weather. Ruff, Ruff, where are you? Ruff, come here, boy. Ruff. Fetch Ruff. Ruff, Ruff. Ruff, Ruff. Now don't be silly. You have to bring the stick back. Ruff. Ruff, Ruff. Ruff. Come on, Ruff, leave the cat alone. Bring the stick back to me. Well, don't just chew the stick.
On this particular day, Willow also came into the garden.
He did not enjoy the flowers or the trees or the sun. He was lost in contemplation, wondering how he was going to make enough money to buy the food to live on.
Go away, Ruff.
Farmer, you look so sad. What is the matter?
Oh, my dear daughter, our life is so hard. I'm exhausted from getting up early every morning, working at the mill all day, and going to bed late every night. Try as I may, no matter how hard I work, we never seem to have enough food. Never mind any left over to save, and you never have.
I don't need nice clothes. I have you and the animals in this beautiful garden.
Well, I think you deserve some nicer clothes, and anyway, it won't be enough. One day I'll be too old to do the milling, and then what will happen? We'll both starve to death.
Oh, Father, you worry too much. The sun is out, and the garden is beautiful, and we have each other.
I know, but I think there's reason to worry.
Father, do you think perhaps the king might be able to help us?
The king?
The king, Father. Perhaps he'll be able to help us.
Why would the king want to help us? He lives in a palace, he has cooks, housekeepers, gardeners, all the food he could possibly want. He will never bother with people like us.
But, Father, he too is a man, and perhaps he would have pity on us and help us. Should we go to the palace and ask him?
Well, perhaps you're right. But certainly cannot get much worse than they are at the moment. The miller and his daughter. The miller and his daughter walked about the garden discussing their plight, and trying to think of a way in which they might get an audience with the king. But try as they might, they could not think of anything. It's no use. The king will never agree to see us. We're just simple peasants, far too poor for his majesty to receive us. But now I must go back to the mill. There's little wheat left that is attending to.
Oh, I suppose I should go in too, and prepare dinner. Come on, Ruff, dinner time. Whoop. Oh, Ruff, not in public. Whoop.
Over the next few days, the miller and his daughter racked their brains to desperately to think of a way to persuade the king to help them. One day, as the miller's daughter was tending the garden, the prince, the only son of the king, set out on a fox hunt with a garden attendant. They were no possible while the miller and his daughter lived.
Another beautiful sunny day, and I can walk in the garden.
Oh, what a beautiful girl, Henry. Isn't she pretty? Very pretty, sir, yes. Do you think my father would like her? I would so like to get married. He hasn't liked any of my girlfriends yet. Hard to say, sir. Father always says my girlfriends are unsuitable and forbids me to marry them. Sometimes he says they're too short. Sometimes he says they're too tall. Some are apparently too silent, and others too talkative. Some he says are too big or too small. And then there are some that he really hates because... Sorry, sir? Because they're like Justin Bieber. Oh, yes, he doesn't like those at all. It's almost as though he doesn't want me to get married at all. But I think this girl's really pretty, and I'd like to get to know her. Do you think I could go over and ask her for a date? No, sir, you're a prince, sir. You can't just go up to people in the street and talk to them. What would your father think? Well, what shall I do then? Perhaps you should ask your father if he'll officially invite you to the palace. You know he likes you to do things properly. Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you. I'll do that. I'm sure he'll agree that she's very beautiful, and as long as she doesn't like Justin Bieber and she likes me, I might be able to marry her. Let's go now and ask him. Very good, sir.
Is somebody there? I thought I heard someone. Harold. Is somebody there? I thought I heard someone. Harold. Perhaps they could have helped us. I've been racking my brains all day trying to figure out a way to earn some more money. I'm beginning to think it's useless. But look at the time. I must go and prepare my father's dinner. Come on, Ralph. Dinner time. No, Ralph! Phew, that's a good boy.
Meanwhile, the prince had hurried home to speak to his father and tell him about the beautiful girl he had seen working in the garden. The king was very suspicious because he didn't trust his son's taste in girlfriends at all, and he agreed that the prince could invite the girl and her father to the palace so that he could decide whether she might be a suitable wife for the prince and a future queen of the land. And so it happened that, while the miller and his daughter were racking their brains for a way in which they might be invited to the palace, suddenly a messenger appeared with a message that they should present themselves at the palace the very next day. Thus, the next morning, the miller and his daughter set for the palace, all in the fear and the trembling, because the messenger had not told them where they had been summoned. They had dressed up in their best clothes, but being so poor, they had no best clothes, and simply went as they were. They arrived at the palace gate and were shown into the antechamber outside the throne room. Father, thank you so much for letting me invite this girl and her father to the palace. I'm sure that once you see her, you'll agree she's the right sort of girl for me to marry.
We'll see about that, my boy. It's certainly time you got married, but I wish you had better taste. You don't seem to understand you can't just marry anyone. A prince's wife will be a queen one day. She has to be something really special.
I'm sure she is, Father. Just you wait and see.
Your Majesty, the commoners you summoned have arrived. Does your lordship wish to grant them an audience now? Certainly. Guard, show them in right away. Yes, my lord.
Oh, Father, they're here.
Don't get your hopes up too much. This one might be a believer too, and I'm not having one of those in the family.
But, Father...
End of argument. Here they are, sir. Thank you, Henry. Welcome to you both.
Your Majesty, may I just say what an honor it is to be here? Shh! You are meant to speak until you're invited to speak. Just be quiet.
My son, the prince, requested that I grant you an audience. As you know, my wife died some years ago, and I've led a lonely life. One day, when I am too gone to the next world, my son will become the king. And I hope that by then he will have married, so that this land will once again have a queen. This land needs a good queen. Every land needs a good queen. The prince has seen your daughter in his travels and wishes me to judge whether she might make a suitable wife for him.
I think you're supposed to talk now.
Are you sure? All right then. Your Majesty, I am honoured to be here, but surely there must be some mistake. We are humble peasants, here to deliver by running a mill. My daughter is very precious to me, but she cannot possibly have the qualities you are looking for in a wife for your son, and eventually a queen. Silence, Miller. Let me be the judge of that. How dare you suggest that your judgment in the matter is better than mine?
Your Majesty, please accept my apologies. I did not mean to offend you.
Now then, young lady, come here and let's have a look at you. Not too short, not too tall, not too big, not too small. So far, so good. Tell me, do you have a tongue in your head?
Why, yes, Your Majesty, I do. Every day I talk with my father, who is a kind and good man.
And do you argue with him? Lash him with your tongue? Berate him when you go to the pub?
Your Majesty, we never have cause to argue, and he never goes to the pub. The only harsh words I have for him are to scold him when he works too hard and too long.
So far, so good. And do you like Justin Bieber, my girl?
What's a Justin Bieber? I have no idea. So, what should I say? I don't know. Please pick it up. Your Majesty, I'm afraid I have never heard of a Justin Bieber before, so I couldn't possibly know if I like it or not.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Well, she seems like a very nice girl. The thing is, you couldn't possibly become queen without being special, and it seems that very few of the young ladies in this land are at all special. Tell me, my good man, is your daughter special?
Oh, yes, sir. She's an outstanding cook.
That counts for nothing in the palace. We have cooks by the dozen.
Your Majesty, while daughters of excellent housekeeper.
That also counts for nothing. We have housekeepers by the hundreds in the palace.
Your Majesty, my daughter's a wonderful gardener, a gardener to every for miles around.
You fool! That too counts for nothing. We have thousands of gardeners here. Princess is not even allowed to garden.
Well, Your Majesty, my daughter's able to spin straw into gold.
What?
She's able to spin straw into gold? Father!
Well, now that is something special. I must think about it for a moment.
Father, when on earth did you say that? You know I have no idea how to spin straw into gold.
Well, I'm sure we'll think of something. Don't worry.
Now, son, that is a special skill. Straw into gold. I mean, we do have quite a lot of gold already, but you never know when you might need some more.
Yes, Father. I told you I thought you'd make a suitable wife for me, just because she seems so beautiful and graceful. But I agree, spinning straw into gold is a unique talent.
Well, my son, and I find what you say highly remarkable. So remarkable, in fact, that we would like your daughters to stay with us for a few days, so that we may test whether what you say is true. If it is true, she shall marry my son and one day become the queen. If it is not true, you shall both spend the rest of your lives in jail. Guard! Guard! Come here this instant.
Yes, my lord, you called?
Place a spinning wheel and a small amount of straw in dungeon 4. Do it now.
A spinning wheel and a small amount of straw in dungeon 4, my lord, right away, my lord.
Now look what you've done. What a mess you've got us both into. Oh, I wish we never come here.
It's all right, my dear. I'll think of something. It'll be all right.
Now, come along. We will take you to your room and give you some straw to spin to gold.
Yes, Your Majesty. Goodbye, Father.
Goodbye, good luck.
And so the miller's daughter was taken by the king and the prince down one corridor after another, through one grand room after another, past the palace ballroom, through the retiring room, and the billiard room. They then went down the innumerable flights of stairs into the very depths of the palace. Quickly, the miller's daughter became aware that she was a prisoner, because even if she were left alone, she would never find her way out. It was too much like a maze.
Deeper and deeper into the bowels of the palace they went, until they arrived at the dungeons. The king peered into one, then into another, and another, until he found the one he wanted. He pulled a key from beneath his robes, unlocked the door, and bade the door to go in. She did so, and found herself in a cell which was dark, damp, and dirty.
Well, since you are the girl who can spin straw into gold, here's a spinning wheel and some straw. I hope for your sake that your father was not exaggerating about your special qualities. My son and I will come down in the morning to see how you've got along. Good night.
Good luck.
Oh my soul! This is dreadful! My father knew perfectly well that I can't spin straw into gold. What on earth am I going to do? How could he have deceived me like this? Will I ever see sunlight again? My garden? My pool of wealth? We were perfectly happy as we were before all of this happened. Why can't I just go home and go away from all this? I don't possibly want to be a princess or a queen. I just want to be my father with Blue. What is that? A spirit? At least that would be resting in a spider. I do hope there are no spiders here. Ah! Who are you? Show yourself!
Why, don't cry. You're so pretty.
Ah! Who are you? And what are you doing there? Here.
Why, don't cry. You're so pretty.
Who are you? You frightened me.
You haven't told me why you were crying.
A beautiful young lady like you shouldn't be crying.
Why should I cry? I'm ordered to spin this horrid straw into gold before morning, and everyone knows it is not possible to spin straw into gold, and if I fail, I shall remain the serf for the rest of my life. That is why I'm crying.
And what will you give me if I do it for you?
What do you mean?
I mean exactly what I said. What will you give me if I do it for you?
Do it for you? You mean we can spin straw into gold?
Of course I can spin straw into gold. I would hardly offer to do it for you if I couldn't. So what will you give me if I do it for you?
I have nothing to give you. I'm a poor man's daughter with hardly a penny to my name.
You have a gold necklace around your neck. You could give me that.
This is the necklace that my mother gave me as she was dying. It would break my heart to give it away. She will ask me for it.
So, you have nothing to give me if I spin that straw into gold for you. In that case, I'll be on my way. Good evening.
Wait, come back! If you can really spin straw into gold, I will give you my necklace, and may my mother forgive me.
So, the little man took the necklace, sat himself down at the spinning wheel, and began to work. Slowly he began to spin, getting faster and faster, until the wheel was just a blur.
Little man, you have saved my life. Thank you ever so much. I will remember you always. The little man stepped away from the wheel, and before the miller's daughter could say another word, he was gone with the necklace. She, exhausted from the events of the day, and the fear of spending the rest of her life in jail, lay down in the corner of the dungeon and quickly fell asleep.
Soon it was sunrise, and the king and the prince came in.
This is indeed a marvel. The straw has actually been spun to gold of the finest quality. Maybe this young woman is special enough to become your wife. She has done a very fine job here, but now that I've seen all of this gold that has been spun from the straw, I realized I should have given her more straw to begin with. I think we should top up the palace gold reserves a little more.
Father, do you really think that's necessary? Clearly, since she can spin straw into gold, there'll be enough time to ask her for more later on.
No, I want more now.
Fine.
Listen, I'll tell her I need to test her again before I can be sure that she's special enough for my son. This is all very well, but I'm not convinced you have really done this all by yourself. Perhaps it was a trick or a fluke. I think we will have you spin some more straw into gold tonight. Guard!
Yes, sir.
More straw in here tonight, please, Henry.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that was me. The little man saved me last night, and now I'm even worse than I was before. I have lost the precious necklace that my mother gave me as she lay dying, and all I have for it to show is an even larger pile of straw. I wonder, the little man seemed to have no trouble turning the straw to gold. But perhaps the spinning was enchanted, and if I tried to spin the straw, perhaps it would turn into gold for me too. It's no use. I can't spin the straw into gold. When the king comes back in the morning, he will find no gold, only straw, and he will lock me up for the rest of my life. Oh, woe is me. Is that you, little man? Please, help me. I'm in terrible trouble. Little man?
Crying again. Every time we meet, you seem to be crying. What is it this time?
Why should I cry? I've been ordered to spin all this hard straw into gold before morning, and you know that I'm not able to do it if I fail. I shall remain in the cell for the rest of my life. That is why I'm crying.
And what will you give me this time if I do it for you?
You already know that I'm a poor man's daughter with hardly a penny to my name, and that I've already given you the necklace that my mother gave me as she lay dying. I have nothing else to give you.
You have a gold ring on your finger. You could give me that.
This is the ring that my father gave me on my 21st birthday. It would break my heart to give it away. You cannot ask me for it.
So, you have nothing to give me if I spin that straw into gold for you. Well then, I'll be on my way. Good evening.
Wait. Come back. If you can really spin the straw into gold, I will give you my ring. And may my father forgive me.
So the little man took the ring, sat himself down at the wheel and began to work. The wheel started to spin, slowly at first, and faster.
Little man, you have saved my life. Thank you ever so much. I will remember you always. The little man stepped away from the wheel, and before the miller's daughter could say another word, he was gone with her ring. She lay down in the corner of the dungeon and once again fell heavily asleep.
When dawn broke next morning, the king and prince came in.
This is indeed remarkable. I am beginning to believe that this young woman is special enough to become your wife. This is really amazing. But I've been foolish. I should have filled this room with straw the first time, and then I would have had much more gold.
Father, you're getting greedy. Surely you've gotten enough gold for now.
Well, she's done such good work so far, I see no harm in making her do it again.
Will make us sleep in this horrible dungeon again?
She's a peasant. She'll be fine.
Really?
Look, I'll tell her she's to be tested once more. A last time. Just to make sure that she's the right person to marry my son. This is all very well, but if you marry my son, you will never be able to work again at spinning or anything else. So tonight, you will spin enough gold for us to last forever. If you can do that before dawn, you shall marry my son and eventually become the queen of this land. God!
Yes, sir.
More straw in here tonight, please, Henry.
Yes, sir.
Oh dear! If Bruce man does not appear tonight, I am truly done for. Perhaps if I call to him, he'll come to me. Little man, where are you? I need your help for the last time. Please come and help me. Little man, where are you? I need your help for the last time. Please can you come and help me?
Crying again. Every time we meet, you seem to be crying. What is it this time?
Why shouldn't I cry? I've been ordered to spin all this hard straw into gold before morning, and you know that I'm not able to do it. If I fail, I shall remember myself for the rest of my life. That is why I'm crying.
And what can you give me if I do it for you this one last time?
You already know that I'm a poor man's daughter with hardly a penny to my name. And I've already given you the necklace that my mother gave me as she lay dying, and the ring that my dear father gave me on my 21st birthday. I have nothing else to give you.
You're right. You have nothing more to give me at the moment, but I cannot possibly spend all this straw into gold and spare your life in jail in return for nothing, you know. But I have an idea. Promise me that when you are queen, you will give me your firstborn son.
My firstborn son?
Yes, didn't you hear me?
My firstborn son? Well, I shall have to think about it for a moment. It's a horrible idea, but then who knows if I will become queen anyway? And even if I do, who knows what might happen in between now and whenever I eventually have children? Who knows if I even have children? In any case, I don't really have a choice. If this girl isn't spun into gold by dawn, I shall remain in this jail for the rest of my life, and I really don't want that. I don't think I have much to lose now if I finish in my firstborn son. I'll have to work something out later on if I do have a son. Alright, I agree. If you spin this straw into gold, I will give you. If you spin this straw into gold, if I become queen, and if I have a son, he shall be yours.
So, without further ado, the little man sat himself down at the spinning wheel and began to work. Slowly, the wheel began to spin. The fire went faster and faster until it was just a blur. The miller's daughter didn't really believe it would happen.
Little man, you have saved my life. Thank you ever so much. I will remember you always.
It's not me you must remember always. It is the promise you must remember always. Your firstborn son shall be mine.
And so, without further ado, the little man stepped over the wheel and was gone. The miller's daughter lay down in the corner of the dungeon and once again fell heavily asleep.
When dawn broke next morning, the king and prince came into the dungeon.
This is truly remarkable. There is more gold here than I will know what to do with in a lifetime. Nay, 10 lifetimes. Nay, 100 lifetimes. This girl is indeed special, and she shall be your wife.
Finally. So, the miller's daughter was in the first part of her life in very poor circumstances, now became a princess, amid much pomp and ceremony, and lived in very rich circumstances. She had dozens of cooks, hundreds of housekeepers, and thousands of gardeners to tend her every wish. And in spite of all this wealth, she was very happy, particularly as she was able to give some money to her father, and never had to worry about whether he would have enough to eat, even when his milling business was doing poorly.
Some years later, the king died of old age, and the prince became the king, and the princess, who had started life as the miller's daughter, became queen. A year later, she gave birth to a baby boy, a child perfect in every respect, the heir to the throne. The child was so perfect, the child was so beautiful, in fact, that the queen gave no thought to the promise that she had made the little man before she married the prince. However, one day, while she was cuddling the child in the palace, the little man appeared.
Your Majesty, I am sure you remember the promise you made me before you married the prince, that you will give me your firstborn son. The child is mine, and I'll take him now.
No, surely not. You cannot take him. He is my son, my firstborn son, the apple of my eye and the heir to my throne. You cannot take him.
My queen, a promise is a promise. The child is mine, and I'll take him now. You must give me what you promised.
I can't give him to you. He is my son.
You must give him to me. Remember your promise. Well?
I can't give in to you. I'll give you all the riches I own, if only you leave me alone. My gold, silver, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, everything I own. Surely that is a fair replacement.
My queen, a promise is a promise. The child is mine, and I'll take him now. You must give me what you promised. She promised me her firstborn son, and now she's refusing to hand him over. I fulfilled my half of the bargain, and I'm getting nothing in return. She does seem very attached to the child, though. Perhaps I'll offer her a compromise, one that sounds like a good idea for her. But I'll still win through in the end. Your Majesty, I will offer you a compromise. If you guess my name within 3 days, you win the bet. The child then stays. If you fail, the child is mine. I will be back tomorrow, come rain or shine.
Oh, it's a relief. I'm sure it will be very difficult to discover his name. I've got 3 whole days, and it's only a name. I won't tell my husband though. He might be cross. Ah, there he is.
Oh, there you are, my dear. How are you today?
Oh, well, I suppose.
You seem all flustered. Is there anything wrong?
Flustered? Me? No, not at all. I'm perfectly fine. I'm just going to sneak away from the garden.
And so, the queen wandered round and round the garden, desperately trying to think of every name she could. She didn't sleep that night, but made list after list of names, poring over all the names she had ever heard. The next morning, she was waiting for him, and the little man suddenly appeared.
So here I am on this. Day 1. You guess my name, you keep your son. But if you fail, make no mistake. As we agreed, the boy I'll take.
Well, it can't be very difficult to guess a name. Is your name Casper?
No.
Is it by chance Melchior?
No.
Then could it be Bartholomew?
No.
Tom?
No.
Dick?
No.
Harry?
No.
Then Kirani?
No.
Could it be Jezebel?
No. You see. You're going to fail. If I were you, I'd start to quail. It won't be as easy as you thought. Just trying to guess will come to naught. If you can't guess, the child is mine. Be back tomorrow, come rain or shine.
And with that, the man once again disappeared. The queen was very disappointed because she had expected to guess the name quite quickly. She had run right through her list of names, so she called her messengers and instructed them to scour the countryside. And they brought back before daybreak with all the unusual names they could possibly find. Again, she was too afraid to tell her husband. By daylight, the messengers returned with a huge list of unusual names, and thus, when the little man had suddenly appeared, the queen was waiting for him.
One day gone, you're down to 2. No doubt you're wondering what to do. In just 2 days, I'll take your son. Your word once given can't be undone.
Alright, I know I struggled a little bit yesterday. I'm sure I'll do better today. Is your name by any chance Hecate?
No.
Cruikshank?
No.
Thimbleshank?
No.
Could it be McCavity?
No.
Then it has to be Pippi Longstocking.
No.
Pikachu?
No. You see. It won't be as easy as you thought. The price of straw spun into gold. The firstborn child to me you sold. Tomorrow I'll come, the child to claim, unless by then you've guessed my name.
Oh no! What am I going to do? I only have a day left, and I've already guessed every name I could think of, and all the ones that my messengers brought me. There's only one thing to do. I'll have to tell my husband. Perhaps he'll be able to guess the name. Dear, are you there?
Why, yes. What's the matter? Why are you so upset? You really haven't been yourself these past few days. Are you ill?
No, I'm not ill. I have something terrible to tell you. Years ago, I promised my firstborn son to a strange little man who saved my life, and now he has come to make me fulfill that promise. If I don't guess his name correctly, tomorrow when he's here, he'll take away the child.
What? You have to have him arrested. He sounds dangerous.
I don't think that will be easy. He's not really a man, not a magical creature.
Well, that changes things. How on earth did you get into such a mess? Actually, don't answer that. Tell me later. I don't want to get into lengthy explanations when there's still the possibility that we might lose the child. I will set off immediately to scour the country for any sight of that little man. And if I find him, so much the worse for him. So Flynn called his mum to him, and they set off immediately. After a few miles, each man took a different road so they could cover as much ground as possible. The king took the road leading through the forest, off towards the mountains. He rode on and on through the forest, trying to look around him for any signs of the little man. Every so often he heard the noise in the trees, but when he went to investigate, he found birds or deer, but no sign of anything evil or magical. After many hours, he saw an unusual light glimmering in the distance between the trees. He rode towards it and saw that it came from a clearing. He got off his horse and crept towards it to get a good view of what was going on. How bizarre! A cauldron in the middle of the woods? Have I disturbed the witches' gathering or something? Oh, I can hear someone coming. I'll hide and watch. Perhaps whoever is here will know something about that little man. Eye of newt, brain of frog, knee of snake goes into the broth, tail of fly and backbone of whale, leg of fish goes into the ale. Tonight I'll brew, tomorrow I'll bake, and then the child away I'll take. The queen will never know to claim that Rumplestiltzkin is my name. Eye of newt, brain of frog, knee of snake goes into the broth, tail of fly and backbone of whale, leg of fish goes into the ale. Tonight I'll brew, tomorrow I'll bake, and then the child away I'll take. The queen will never know to claim that Rumplestiltzkin is my name. Eye of newt, brain of frog, knee of snake goes into the broth, tail of fly and backbone of whale, leg of fish goes into the air. Tonight I'll brew, tomorrow I'll wait, and then the child away I'll take. The queen will never know to claim that Rumplestiltzkin is my name. Oh my goodness, how horrible! But I must get back to the palace immediately. What a stroke of luck that I saw that light and heard the line. I must tell my wife. The king crept quietly away from the clearing, jumped on his horse, and rode as quickly as he could back over the hill and dale to the palace. When he got there, he went straight to the queen and told her everything that he had just seen. The queen was very relieved that he was back, and from what he had told her, she was sure that her husband had discovered the little man's name, even though he had never seen the little man before. So, for the first time in 3 days, she was able to sleep quickly. The next morning, she rose at dawn, composed herself, and was waiting for him in the nursery. When little schedule, the little man appeared. "2 days gone. Where's this last? The time has disappeared so fast. 3 whole days you've had to see if you can guess what my name might be. And now I've come the child to claim. Unless right now you guess my name."
Well, you were right. guessing your name was much harder than I thought it would be, and I've almost completely run out of names. In fact, I can only think of 3 more names in the whole world. Is your name Snape?
No.
Is your name Voldemort?
No.
Then can it be that your name is Rumplestiltzkin?
What did you say? What did you say?
Is your name Rumplestiltzkin?
No! How did you guess that? How did you guess that? No one has ever guessed my name. A demon has told you. An evil demon has told you. Curses upon all of you. Ah!
Well, that was the end of Rumplestiltzkin. The Queen never knew whether he disappeared through the ceiling, the floor, or through a wall, but it never really mattered. He never appeared in their lives again, and the King, the Queen, and their son lived happily ever after.